Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of OI. My name is Winfred Sterling and I'm an intelligence officer with one of the three-letter agencies here in the United States federal government. I spent about 1 year as a federal officer and 2 years prior to that as a contractor with the same federal government agency, as well as 21 years in the United States military, United States Navy Chief retired here. Stay tuned for more information on what it is to be an intelligence officer within the federal government and what all that entails.
All right, Mr. Wynn, let's hop right into these questions. What is an intelligence officer?
So essentially, an intelligence officer is anyone who has took the oath to defend the Constitution of the United States of America against all enemies, foreign and domestic, for one of the intelligence agencies that we have here within the United States.
How did you find out about this career?
Strangely enough, I found out about this career while I was in active duty. I was a culinary specialist, and I just so happened to go up for a Sailor of the Year board where they invited us to go to one of these agencies. We had some military affiliation at the agency, and that's where they were handling the board. And there I found out that there was other occupations I could possibly go into. So I started steering my career towards some type of occupation that will get me into the intelligence community. And there's many different occupations in there. Obviously, there's anything from the stuff that we see on TV that are the glitz and glam, like being an analyst and going to do crazy things around the world, to someone who may just be a administrative officer type deal. So there's many different occupations, and that's where I found myself.
That's interesting. Well, what were the prerequisites to enter into this field? Like education, experience?
So one of the biggest hurdles to getting into the intelligence community would be the clearance. It requires one of the highest clearances that you could possibly get in the services. And unfortunately, not everyone qualifies for that. There's a lot of stringent criteria to that, just basic stuff like keeping yourself out of trouble or having a good credit score, or, there's many different factors, but it has to be a history of sustained superior performance. And that's really what gets you into the community, as well as your educational background and experience. Oftentimes experience can, counter not having enough education. So
Right, I got you. Did you have to go to college for this, or was it something that you were able to get into without college?
So with me, I was able to go to college while I was in the military. So I was able to get my degrees and get enough experience in the field that I'm currently working in to be somewhat proficient at what I do currently. You don't have to know everything. You just have to know some things and be willing to be taught things. Oftentimes you have a lot of people who just don't want to be taught, or they think they know everything, and it's very hard to teach them something new. So for me, it was a very easy lateral transition from military life to civilian life and going into the federal service.
Wow. Okay, next question is referring to the pay range. So how does the pay range look for this career?
So pay range, for what I do, I can average anywhere from $80,000 a year all the way up to about $140,000 a year. Depending on experience and educational background, you kind of see a lot more people top out at the high. For someone who's just starting out with no experience, or they may have a high school education or an associate's degree, you may end up in the mid to lower tiers of that pay scale. But for comparative sakes, it was still much more than what I made in the military. So.
Wow, that's amazing. Alrighty. What are your typical responsibilities as an intelligence officer?
So as an intelligence officer, my key responsibilities, the things that I really focus on, I am an HR officer, human resources officer. My current role is talent pipeline management and onboarding. So all and everyone get to see me as a bright and shiny face on day one.
You know what? I forgot to ask you this too. Do you work from home, or do you have to go in every day?
Unfortunately, because I work inside of a skiff, I'm mostly at work every day. There's very few days where I can actually telework. In the past, when I was a contractor, there was more days where I could telework. I want to say also because of COVID, during the state of where we were as a society, telework was a huge option and benefit to a lot of people, myself included. However, now given the state that we're in and everything that's going on around the world, it's a requirement that most of us have to come into work Monday through Sunday. Obviously, I don't work Saturdays and Sundays, but there are some people who do have to, essentially it's still like being in the military. Only difference is I don't have to wear the uniform. We don't have to get in ranks and or muster or formation, whatever we call it across the branches. Essentially, it's still a duty though. So, you take off one uniform to put on a different one.
And you said you work inside of what'd you call it?
So a skiff.
Yeah,
It's a sensitive, compartmented information facility.
Okay, good to
Basically, a place where you're not allowed to take top secret information out of. And oftentimes people get in trouble for that. They take it home. I don't know why. They put it in their garages. I don't know why. Or they decide to show it to their best friends. I still don't know why. So those are all key no-nos.
Yeah, I think government is really like acronym heavy anyways. Very. What company are you currently employed through right now, or agency?
So I cannot say which agency I'm with, obviously for reasons I cannot say, but I am with one of the federal government agencies, and yeah.
Okay, enough said. What is something that makes this career completely unique from any other job you've had?
I want to say one of the most unique things about this career field compared to anything I've ever done is the interactiveness that you have with brand new employees, brand new people who are just coming into a situation where they have no clue of what they're getting into. It reminded me of all my years in the military, that first year of leaving boot camp and finally checking into your first ship or your first duty station. You have no clue of what you're getting yourself into, but you have people there to kind of guide you and let you know that, hey, what you're getting into is the deep water. However, we have life preservers, so we're here to guide. And I think me just being a people person and being able to at least bridge the gap on, the uncomfortness of going into an unsettling situation and not having a clue as to what you can expect.
Is this a growing field, or is it hard to find work in this profession?
This is an extremely robust field. I believe HR in general, we cannot never have enough, if that's the best way to describe it, even if that's correct English. I'm going to say we cannot never have enough of good HR people who just love what they do, people who find a passion in what they do. I think when I was in the military, being a culinary specialist, I was also a chef. So I worked around a lot of people who loved what they do, who truly had a passion for what they did. I was nowhere near their level. And I see that even in the HR community, where you have people who have a true passion for HR, for people management, for just human development. And I think it's a very big industry where it can definitely grow. You can find your way. You can, blaze your own trail, make a name for yourself, and truly become accomplished in what you want to do.
How has this career challenged? Then what's the most rewarding thing about this career as well?
I want to say the most challenging thing I've met in this career so far was just changing mentalities. Unfortunately, we have a lot of people who have that older federal mentality of, well, this is just what I do, and this is the bureaucratic red tape and and you hear that a lot. But just breaking those mentalities and getting people to understand that this is the mission, and this is where we need to be, and ultimately, what is it for? I think the reward is understanding where my tax dollars go, because now that I am a Virginia resident, I pay taxes. Before I was a Florida resident, so I didn't really have to pay those things. So now I have a concern as to what my tax dollars are really going towards. And I look at this position, the challenge is just changing mentalities, and the reward is just seeing where all of this is eventually ending up at. I can see things changing for the better. So that's my reward challenge.
That's good. Okay, I'll take it. So, what do you feel are 3 characteristics a person would need in order to become an intelligence agent?
I would say 3 characteristics would be someone who's willing to learn, someone who's honest, and someone who is willing to admit where their faults are. I think a lot of times we all too often think everything has to be perfect. This has to be done a certain way and it has to be perfect. But understanding that you're going to have faults, you're going to have mistakes, there's going to be errors, owning up to those errors and owning up to those mistakes and saying, okay, this is how we proceed forward. Yes, I messed this report up. Yes, I forgot to include this spreadsheet. Whatever happens, it's just being honest, being accountable, and just being willing to learn. I think those 3 attributes right there are just one of the things that really make a intelligence officer or anyone in any field just that much better.
And I did want to ask, say somebody wants to become one right now after watching this video. Is there a way that they can apply or somewhere that they can go to? How do you say they can get into this field?
There's actually a few different ways. The main way is usajobs.gov. That is, I will always steer people in that direction first. usajobs.gov. Also, there's an ICAG website that deals mainly specifically with certain agencies, so in the intelligence community. But if you go to usajobs.gov, that position at that agency will be redirected to that ICAG website. And I often say, anytime you hear anything about a job fair, especially at colleges or at just universities, or I think we also recruit areas in and around DC at other federal agencies. So if you see a job fair and you see one of the intelligence agencies, please go and ask. You don't have to be an intelligent person to be in an intelligent agency. A lot of times that intelligence agency scares a lot of people, and it's not necessarily what you might think it is. There's other careers in there where you can find yourself being very, very fruitful. If analysis is what you like to do, then there's plenty of positions where they're looking for analysts. If you're a financial manager, we have different areas in finance that you can work in. We have many different career opportunities in the intelligence agency. The hardest part is understanding that there's a clearance process, and it could take anywhere from the date of application. It could take anywhere from 2 months to 2 years before you actually get on board.
Oh, wow.
And that's the hard part. A lot of people they want to be employed now, not understanding that you have no clearance, you have no polygraph. There's certain things that you have to meet prior to all of this. And if you don't have those things, it could take some time. So the first source is always going to be usajobs.gov. That's where you would go to apply. And like I said, if you hear about a job fair, go to it.
Go to it. Okay. Is there anything else that you would like people to know about your career or about yourself before we end this?
Yeah, I like being in the intelligence community. Like, unfortunately, being in the SCIF, sometimes you don't get access to certain things like your cell phone, or you can't go on Facebook, or what's the thing kids have nowadays, TikTok or something like that. You can't TikTok, and there are some downsides, but I really like it. It's a change of pace of what I was doing. Sometimes you need in your life a change of pace. It can definitely rattle some things. I will say God has blessed me throughout the years of just being able to just keep me in a position where I was always able to be a blessing to others. So where I'm at now, I enjoy it, and I don't take it for granted because I know it could all go away. So
that's good. That's true. All right. Well, that completes our interview. Thank you so much for joining us today. And I hope that this interview helps a lot of people. I think that it will. But if you're interested, like you said, go visit those websites and hopefully you can get into the field too. All right. Thanks for joining us. Bye.